Okay, now we're on to question 4, and this is the flowchart question, the trace table question. And again, there's always a question with a flowchart and a trace table. It says the flowchart below inputs the height of children who want to ride on a roller coaster. Children under 1.2 meters are rejected. The ride starts when 8 children have been accepted. So the key to this is remember your flowchart symbols. That's a terminator. So the sort of squashed sort of oval is the terminators there. That's a terminator. Anything in a rectangle is a process. Anything with a parallelogram is an input or output. So we've got an output down there. Anything in a diamond is a question. So if that was code, it would be an if and an else. And that's it. So just remember those. And then you can move on to thinking about what you are going to do to fill in the trace table over here. So let's have a think about this. We've got a flowchart. We've got people going on a roller coaster ride. So imagine you're at the theme park and everyone's being measured. You're inputting to see if until you've got 8 riders. So the first thing we're doing here is we are setting the riders and the reject variables. So each one of these columns here in our trace table is effectively a variable. And the first one is riders, and we're setting it to be 0 in this box here. So that's going to be 0. And then we're setting reject to be 0 as well. So let's set that one to be 0. Okay, so that's the first thing we do, is then we move down our flowchart. So it's a good idea when you're doing this in the exam to sort of keep your finger on where you are in the flowchart. So keep your finger on this box here. We're on input height. So we're going to input the height, and all the height values are here. So the first value is 1.4. So we need to write that in. Remember, this is a variable value where the whole point of the trace table is to trace through what values variables have as you run the code in order to make sure that the code or the flowchart and the algorithm is working correctly. So we'll put 1.4 in there. So then we move down and we say, is the height less than 1.2? Well, the height is 1.4. So I'll just put what the height was there. It's 1.4. So yes, it is. Sorry, no, it's not. It's not. Is the height less than 1.2? It's not less than 1.2. So we move down here. Then we say, the riders variable becomes equal to riders plus 1. So we go onto our trace table and we increase riders by 1. Okay. Then we move down to the next box, and that is another question. Does the variable riders contain the value 8? No, it doesn't. So we follow the flowchart up here and go back and input the next height. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these markups so that we can do the next one. Okay, so we're now on the next height. So the next height, if I cross that one out, is 1.3. So we're inputting 1.3. So we need to write that on our trace table here, 1.3. Reject hasn't changed. That variable there hasn't changed. So we just leave that blank. If variables don't change, just leave them blank. So then we move down here. Is the height less than 1.2? No, it isn't. So we go here. Then we set riders equal to riders plus 1. So we increase the number of riders to 2. Does rider equal to 8? No, it doesn't. So we follow it up again and we input the next value. So the next value is 1.1. Next value is 1.1. So we write that in our height variable column. Is the height less than 1.2? Yes, it is. The height is 1.1. So we then follow this part of the flowchart. We're here. The reject variable becomes equal to reject plus 1. Now, the best thing to do is not put it here. Don't put it there. Put it on the next line down here, because you're kind of sort of flowing downwards and then back up here. So reject equals reject plus 1. We follow the flowchart and we're back at inputting the next height. So the next height is 1.3. So we write that in, 1.3, and we follow it down here. Is it less than 1.2? No, it isn't. So we increase the number of riders to 3. We follow down here. Is the number of riders equal to 8? No, it isn't. It's 3. So we go back up to the top and input the next value. The next value is 1.0. Is the height less than 1.2? And we need to obviously write that on here, 1.0. Yes, it is. So we reject again. So we've got 2 rejects so far. Follow it back here. Input the next value, which is going to be 1.5. So it's 1.5. And we write it here. Is the height less than 1.2? No, it isn't. So the riders equals riders plus 1, which is going to be 4. Okay, we can cross that one out. Is the riders equal to 8? No, it isn't. So we input the next one, which is 1.3. Sorry, no, it isn't. It's 1.2. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Thought I just missed one out there. It's 1.2. 1.2. Is the height less than 1.2? So this is kind of like the trick question here. Is the height less than 1.2? No, it isn't. That can be accepted. If this question here said less than or equal to 1.2, then you would reject it, but it's not. It's actually 1.2 exactly. So we can still accept that rider, and we must remember to write it in here and increase our number of riders to 5. Input the next one. You should be able to sort of get a rhythm now of how the flowchart works. So we've done our 1.2. We're now on 1.3 again. 1.3 is okay, so we can increase the number of riders. And then 1.4 is okay as well, so we can increase the number of riders again. And then we've got a 1.3, and we can increase the number of riders again, so that's 8. So now we are here, and is the number of riders equal to 8? Yes, it is. So we go across here and we output ready to go, and then the number of rejects, which was 2. And then we end, and that's it. So we haven't used all the values here, but that's okay because we're just, just going up to 8 riders. So the key for this is the way you get your marks for these questions is per column. So they're looking to see, are the columns correct? So if you do sort of put an extra line in, then don't worry too much. The main thing is double check that you've got all the height values in, all the variables in correctly in each column, and you should get the full 4 marks.